in Mago Reddit. Today's story is...
My sister believed she was infertile for 5 years after stealing my husband, until he drunkenly confessed his shocking secret while I was celebrating my new family. I am a 30-year-old woman and currently expecting my second child. This baby is my first with my husband Walter, also 30. I also have a 6-year-old son named Emery from my previous marriage to Dalton, who is 36. For me, this is excellent news because I am excited about having a child with someone completely different to my ex-husband. However, my mother Mabel, 58, has demanded that I stop sharing posts about my pregnancy on social media, arguing that it is insensitive to my sister Sally, 33, who is experiencing fertility problems. So much for the overview. Now here's the full context for those who want to know the whole drama. Dalton and I were married for 2 years, and our marriage ended because he was having an affair with my older sister Sally. Now they are married. As for me, I have been sharing what I consider to be normal pregnancy updates online. Ultrasound photos, some images of my growing belly, and occasional posts about baby preparations, such as choosing colors for the room or strange cravings. Nothing excessive, nothing inappropriate, and nothing out of the ordinary for parents expecting a baby. These posts are for my friends, family, and the few people who are genuinely interested in what is happening in my life. To me, they are innocent posts that show my excitement about this pregnancy. Sally is upset by my posts because she has been trying to have a baby for quite some time without success. My mother believes that my posts constantly remind her of that situation and highlight how my life is progressing while hers remains stagnant. She also mentioned that my posts could be interpreted as me bragging about my growing family, while Sally's is not progressing. One particular thing my mother said that struck me was that by posting about my pregnancy, I am making Sally look like the wrong choice for Dalton. That says more about Dalton than anything else. My mother even suggested that I should stop talking about my pregnancy completely, both online and in person. She thinks it's my responsibility to protect Sally's feelings, even if it means hiding this important and happy part of my life from everyone. I was extremely surprised when she said this, because it seemed totally unfair and impractical to me. I'm pregnant, and I shouldn't have to hide it. It's not like I'm directly tagging Sally in my posts or sending her updates about my pregnancy. What also irritates me now is Sally's audacity. She actually had the nerve to ask me, through my mother, to stop sharing about my pregnancy because it affects her. This is the same sister who betrayed me in the worst way imaginable. She destroyed my marriage, and now she wants me to silence my happiness for her comfort. I know it wasn't entirely her fault. Dalton played a part too, and I'm furious with both of them. But Sally is my sister, and she should never have done this to me. It's not about jealousy. I don't envy her life or her choices. In fact, they're pretty regrettable. I just can't get over the hurt she caused me. She hurt me deeply, and instead of taking responsibility, she acts like the victim, as if everything bad that happens to her happens to her. It's unbelievable that she thinks she can ask this of me. I've worked hard to get over what happened, but situations like this bring it all back. Sally doesn't acknowledge her mistake or take any responsibility for her actions. Instead, she expects me to make sacrifices for her, as if I owe her something. In reality, I feel sorry for her. It's pathetic that she can betray her own sister and still believe she deserves compassion. It infuriates me to allow her to make me feel guilty for not hiding my pregnancy or my happiness. I deserve to celebrate this, no matter how she feels about it. I have decided to keep my posts and continue to share updates about my pregnancy. I'm not going to flood anyone's feed with baby content, but I'm also not going to hide this fundamental part of my life. I deserve to celebrate this stage, just as anyone else would. And if Sally is bothered by it, that's her problem. It's not like I'm worried about her feelings right now. I even think that if she is hurt, it's appropriate. It's good that she feels at least a fraction of what I felt. Update 1. Here's a little update. Things haven't gotten any easier, especially with my mom. If you read my previous post, you know how much she favors my sister and how she has never been truly supportive of me, especially after everything that happened with Dalton. But lately, my mom has reached new levels of meanness, and it has been really difficult to deal with. Every time I post something related to my pregnancy, which isn't very often, my mom has been leaving nasty, offensive comments. At first, I thought she was just upset about the whole Sally situation, but this has been going on for weeks. She doesn't limit herself to a single comment. She writes multiple things under my posts, trying to make me feel guilty or bad for celebrating my pregnancy. It's like she's actively trying to make sure I don't feel happy about my pregnancy. Initially, I knew that blocking her accounts would solve the problem. Every time she left a negative comment, I would just block her and hope it would be the last one. But she kept going, creating new accounts and commenting terrible things. I felt like I was trapped in an endless cycle. I started to question whether blocking her was worth it. So now I've simply given up. I let her comment whatever she wants and try to ignore it as best I can. I don't reply to her comments and really try to stay away from the drama. She is my mother, and instead of behaving like one, she seems to be my worst enemy. She should be my biggest support, especially now during my pregnancy, but instead she is complicating things when all I want is to enjoy this period. I have been very excited about this pregnancy. I feel like it represents a new beginning for my family, but my mother's constant negativity is really affecting my mood. I've even considered taking a complete break from social media. But I don't want to give them that kind of control over me. This is my life, my pregnancy, and I should be able to celebrate it however I want. I've already given up too much of my own happiness just to keep the peace with my family, and I'm tired of it. I deserve to enjoy this pregnancy and share it with the people who truly care about me without feeling guilty about it. That said, it's really hard to ignore my mother's comments. She knows exactly how to get to me, and although I try to brush it off, it's not easy. I keep thinking about it, and I feel the need to respond to her. But I know that would only make things worse. Maybe I need some advice here. Edit. I've been suggested to set my account to private mode and only allow comments from people I follow. Thanks. I didn't know about that option. Every day you learn something new. I'm leaving this information in case anyone else wants to implement it on their account, along with the YouTube link showing how to do it. Update 2. A lot of people wanted to know more about what happened with Dalton and Sally, so here it goes. A few months after Emery was born, I started to notice changes in Dalton. He was becoming increasingly distant. He spent less time at home and always seemed disinterested. He made excuses for being out, claiming work or errands to run, but something wasn't right. At first, I thought maybe he had regretted becoming a father, or maybe he was nervous, like I was, about having a baby. We were both exhausted and adjusting to life with a newborn, so I figured maybe he just needed space. However, as the weeks went by, his behavior became increasingly strange. He seemed emotionally disconnected, barely interacting with me or Emery, and it no longer seemed like a normal situation. One day, Dalton was receiving numerous text messages, and the sound of notifications was very annoying while I was trying to put Emery to sleep. I took his phone to silence it, and also because I wanted to know who was sending him so many messages. I just looked at the notifications, and the messages were from Sally. She had written, "It's been too long. When are you going to tell him about us?" I went straight to confront Dalton after reading this. When I showed him the message, he didn't even try to deny it. He admitted everything, saying that it had happened and that he didn't intend to hurt me. I wasn't surprised about Sally. She always flirted with the guys I was dating, so it was her usual pattern, but it hurt that Dalton would do this to me. I filed for divorce almost immediately. There was no way to repair this. It was too much of a betrayal. I didn't want to fight or prolong it. I just wanted Dalton out of my life. I'm not going to lie, taking care of Emery on my own was extremely difficult. I didn't get any help. My mother was busy helping my sister plan her big dream wedding. Yes, because 2 months after our divorce, they had their wedding. My mother, who has always favored Sally, tried to pressure me into attending. But I told her she was completely wrong if she thought I would go. There was no way I wanted to witness my sister marrying my ex-husband. It felt like a betrayal from both her and my mother. She didn't seem to care how much it hurt me. She just wanted to keep up appearances and please Sally. After everything that had happened with Dalton and Sally, I felt that moving on was the best option for Emery and me. I couldn't get stuck in the past, and I finally found someone who really cares about me, Walter. I met Walter a year after my divorce, and we got married after a year and a half of dating. When Walter and I got married, I saw it as a new beginning. But instead of being supported in my happiness, I was made to feel like the villain. Some thought I had moved on from Dalton too quickly, as if it wasn't fair or appropriate for me to find happiness after everything that had happened. Besides, if I got over Dalton quickly, what could be said about him? Dalton's family, in particular, made things even more complicated. They couldn't understand how I had moved on so quickly with the man who had given me my son. They even insinuated that I must have been unfaithful to Dalton all along, claiming that there was no way I could have got over him so quickly if I hadn't been involved with someone else beforehand. It was so ironic. They were trying to present me as the villain by claiming that I had done exactly the same thing as their son. They went as far as to question the paternity of my son, but a paternity test confirmed it and he couldn't avoid child support, which was his intention. Now, I am truly happy with Walter. Update 3. I recently found out some news about Dalton through a friend, and that's why I've come running to tell you. As you all know, Sally has been facing fertility problems for quite some time. She has always wanted to have children, and I assumed that, like many couples, she had gone to the doctor for tests to determine if there was a medical problem. But apparently that was not the case. They didn't visit the doctor, they just assumed that Sally was infertile because Dalton and I had Emery. They thought she must be the problem because in their minds, since I conceived a child with him, she must be responsible. But here's the shocking part. A few days ago, I found out that Dalton had actually had a vasectomy right after our divorce. He didn't tell Sally anything about it, and for almost 5 years, he allowed her to believe that she wasn't good enough for him because she couldn't get pregnant. He didn't want to be a father anymore, so he made that decision to make sure it never happened again, and he kept it all a secret all this time. Sally blamed herself for not being able to have children, thinking that there was something wrong with her. She was devastated, and to make matters worse, Dalton never revealed the truth to her. Sally, of course, had no idea. She had been worried all this time, while Dalton simply watched, knowing all along that it wasn't her fault, but his. He let her suffer in silence, and she sincerely believed she was responsible. She thought she wasn't good enough for him because she couldn't give him the family he wanted. She felt broken. She was falling apart. And all the while, Dalton kept his secret, manipulating her emotions. But now she's discovered the truth, although I feel no sympathy for her. Apparently, a few days ago, Dalton came home under the influence of alcohol and finally told her everything. I'm not sure if he felt guilty and simply reached a breaking point, but he confessed to Sally the truth about the vasectomy. Finally, he revealed the lies he had been telling her for years, making her believe that she was the reason they couldn't have children. He closed the door on their chances of starting a family, and instead of taking responsibility, he allowed Sally to think it was her fault. On the one hand, I feel sorry for Sally, because no one should have to go through something like that. But then I remember what kind of woman she is, and that feeling disappears. She's getting some karma, and taking your sister's husband away from her deserves a proportionate punishment. She's always wanted children, and she's been struggling with that pain. So no, I don't feel too sorry for her. To be honest, I feel no pity at all. It's not that I'm here enjoying myself as if I were the villain of the story, but she deserves it. As for Dalton, I don't know what to think about him anymore. It's bad enough that he cheated on me with my sister, but now to do this, it leaves me speechless. I'm not surprised, but it has left me with nothing to say. I could probably add some unflattering adjectives to his name, but it would be a waste of time because we can all imagine them. As for me, I continue with my posts about my pregnancy. I know some people might think I'm making the situation worse, but that's not the case. Although I don't think it would be wrong if I did it for that reason either. I mean, it wouldn't be even a small fraction of what they did to me, or so I think. I know my mother probably doesn't like it, but she hasn't said anything to me about it because, well, she can't. Update 4. I had a baby girl. We named her Eli, and she is absolutely perfect. When Eli was born, a small part of me thought that my mother might finally experience a change of attitude. Despite all the painful things she has said and done, I hoped she might put all that aside for the sake of her new granddaughter. I imagined that she would come to the hospital or call to see how we were, but she didn't. There was no call, no visit, not even a text message. She must be offended because she can't comment. I was already prepared for that possibility, so it didn't hurt or surprise me. I know she's my mother, and many will think I should forgive her, but really, is it worth it? I don't think so. A week after Eli was born, I posted a photo of Emery holding his little sister. It was such a sweet moment, and I wanted to share it. I am so proud of my children, and it felt good to celebrate them. Friends and family congratulated us, shared their love, and said the most beautiful things about them. The changes in the configuration have really solved many problems. But do you think that stopped my mother contacting me to express her thoughts? I received a long email, which I knew came from her, even though it wasn't the address she usually used. She went even further, writing some of the most unpleasant and hateful things I have ever read. And this time, it wasn't just directed at me. She directed her anger at my children, her own grandchildren. I won't repeat what she wrote because it was so horrible, but I can't believe that a grandmother could think that way about her grandchildren. Previously, her offensive comments had always been directed at me. This time, she crossed a line that a grandmother, if she deserves to be called that, should not cross, unless you are some kind of person with serious personality problems. At this point, we are beyond the possibility of repairing our relationship. I cannot maintain a bond with my mother when she prefers her favorite daughter so much that she goes to these extremes. I hope defending her is beneficial to her, because if one day Sally betrays her, as she did with me, I don't want to see her at my door crying and begging me to give her a chance so she doesn't end up with no daughters at all. Date 5. A few days ago, a friend called me to give me some news. Sally and Dalton are getting divorced. It's not the most surprising news in the world, but it confirms what we all already knew. Karma at work again is a wonderful thing, because at least you know that the universe is not abandoning you. I don't think this is enough yet, but I don't think karma is finished with everyone involved in my story either. I feel that there are still consequences to come for them. And I believe this because they are terrible people. And it may take years, but at some point those same personalities will lead them into a rather unfortunate situation. What did surprise me was that Sally got in touch with me. We hadn't really spoken in years, apart from her occasional passive-aggressive comments through the family. She has always kept her distance, and I have done the same. When I answered, I was taken aback by her tone. She was being extremely polite, almost excessively polite. So sweet that for a moment I thought someone else had called and had mistaken the name. I had to check. She started by asking about my children, in her warm saccharine voice, as if we were best friends. How's Emery? How's the baby? I've been meaning to check in with you. It was so strange to hear her talk like that, as if she had some kind of cognitive problem. I answered her questions politely, but kept everything brief, not wanting to give her the opportunity to go into depth. Something wasn't right, and I wasn't going to let my guard down. Then she got to the point. She informed me that she and Dalton had separated, and that they were getting divorced. She didn't share many details about the reasons, but I had already heard something from my friend. It was evident from her voice that she was trying to present herself as the victim, although I don't know how much of a victim she is. I mean, they're both terrible as human beings. Maybe not just as human beings, but as living beings in general. Once she had told me about the divorce, Sally changed the subject. She began to explain how difficult everything had been for her, saying that she felt like her whole life was falling apart. Then she said something that I don't know how she had the courage to ask of me. She asked me if I could help her in some way. She didn't specify that she needed help with anything in particular, just that I be there for her during the divorce. Yes, the divorce from my ex-husband, the same one who cheated on me with her. I couldn't help but laugh, partly because it was funny, and partly because her apparent lack of judgment needed urgent attention. Did she really think I had forgotten what he did to me? I told her that even if I could help her, and I probably could, I wouldn't. I would rather help a hungry lion in the middle of the savannah than help her. At least I know that the lion will betray and hurt me, but her betrayal would probably be worse. I couldn't even compare her to a snake, because even snakes seem less treacherous than she is. At that moment, all her sweetness disappeared, and she got angry. But I didn't stay listening anymore because we were already getting to the insults. I told her I could help her, just to shut her up and make her listen to me. I told her I could help her get a hose so she could put one end in her mouth and the other where the sunlight doesn't reach, because I think that's where everything she says should go. I ended the call and blocked her. I know some people would probably want to know if I was going to do it, but by the time her disturbed mind reacted to what I said, it would probably only be a matter of seconds, and I wasn't in the mood to wait. What really irritates me and led me to respond like that is her sense of entitlement. She never got in touch to apologize, not even to acknowledge the damage she caused me. I know that doesn't solve anything, but at least it would have been something. It's like he didn't even consider how his actions affected me. And now she expects me to help her with this, to tell her how bad Dalton was? I know that, but she should have known when she decided to marry a man who cheated on his wife with her own sister. Update 6. Some of you have been asking me about Dalton and his relationship with Emery, so I thought I'd take a moment to share. To be clear, their relationship is practically non-existent. When Emery was born, I really believed that Dalton would step up as a father. No matter what happened between us, I thought he would want to be a part of his life, to be there as he grew up. But over the years, it's become clear that he's not interested. He hardly ever communicates with him, and when he does see him, it is sporadically and seems more of an obligation for him than something he really wants to do. Emery doesn't seem to feel any connection to Dalton, and he refuses to call him Dad. I have never pressured him in this regard because I feel it is his decision. He calls Walter Dad, however, and honestly, I think that says a lot about how he feels. Walter has been there for him in every way that Dalton failed. He loves him like he was his own son, and Emery deeply adores him in return. Update 7. Sally and Dalton are now officially divorced. Sally now lives with my mother, which makes sense as they have always been very close. I haven't spoken to either of them about this, and I have no intention of doing so. I'm sorry if this upsets anyone, because I haven't found out if Sally followed my advice for her opinions. Speaking of my mother, I also have news about her. After leaving hurtful and cruel comments on my social media posts, she has finally been suspended from Instagram. At least the complaints I filed, along with other friends and family, have done some good. Of course, it took months before they took action, and it took multiple reports, but it's better than nothing. I know this must have really upset my mother, because she frequently used her main account and had numerous photos published. Images that she didn't have backed up anywhere else, because she simply uploaded them and deleted them from her phone. It's not much, but these little things help. Emery and Eli are happy. Walter is still the best partner and dad. Update 8. Dalton has been rather indiscreet because, before his vasectomy, he managed to get one of Sally's friends pregnant. Given the age of the baby, this happened just after he asked me for a divorce and before he had the vasectomy. And I know this because I ran into this friend who was carrying a baby, and after chatting for a while, she confessed that he was the father. She also told me that, as with me, he is not very present in the life of that child, but he still has to pay child support to both of them. I don't know how much he pays Sally's friend, but if it's similar to what he contributes for Emery, I don't understand how she manages her salary at the end of the month. I asked Sally's friend, who I don't know if she still is, if Sally was aware of this. And with a worried expression, she replied in the affirmative. In case you don't remember, which is understandable after months without an update and with so many stories you will have read, she would have given anything to have a child with Dalton. But her ex-husband had a child with her friend. I haven't heard anything from Sally during this time, but I imagine she must be completely devastated. Update 9. Guess what? The favorite daughter has abandoned her mother. Yes, Sally. It's not like they had an argument, but Sally thought it was best to start her life over somewhere else, taking a new job far from here. She says that the breakup with Dalton and everything that happened with her friend is such a betrayal that she can't bear to live surrounded by those memories. Well, I could do it, and so could she if she weren't so emotionally fragile. But I want to apologize if anyone reading this feels offended. You have to remember that my sister possibly has some cognitive problem, which is the only explanation for her behavior so far. That's why it's not okay to say that she's emotionally fragile. Not for my sister, but for the rest of us who aren't terrible like her. My mother has changed her phone number, which they have confirmed to me, to call me and tell me this, as well as telling me that she needed help since not even Sally will be there to assist her. She had fallen a few weeks ago, hitting herself quite hard, and had to rest for a few days. It wasn't serious. She didn't break any bones, but it was serious enough to scare her. I felt sorry for her, although not really, that she had to invest time changing her number for this, informing her contacts, updating it on all the platforms where she had used her previous number, such as banks and social networks. And all for nothing, because my response was to ask Sally when I called her. Then I blocked that number too.